sales event. So did he. They came for the best selection and great year-end values. And now get phenomenal 1.9% APR financing on the sleeker, stylish new 2004 Camry. Or choose $750 cash back. Take your pick on one of 2 incredible offers on the vehicle that's been named the best-selling car in America. Come on, get to the 25th annual Toyota Farm. Wouldn't you look smart in a new Toyota?
The holiday season is a very busy time for the pipe band.
I really enjoy the piping from afar.
I am the last-minute shopper in this family. I'd rather be piping any day of the week.
No.
Yes, Walmart is our one-stop shopping place.
The prices are fantastic. I think we are a good team.
This would make a great kilt.
Most of the time.
Walmart makes it very easy when you're last-minute shoppers like we are.
Have you got my Christmas gift?
Not quite.
The season's best. Experience the magic. Cadillac. Breakthrough.
Take advantage of 0% APR financing plus a $1,000 bonus offer toward any new 2004 Cadillac Escalade EXT.
Happy Hanukkah from K2, the spirit of the Northwest.
A single Holstein cow has tested positive.
It appears to be the first case of mad cow disease in America.
Even though the risk to human health is minimal, we will take all appropriate actions out of an abundance of caution.
The illness created a panic in England and Europe where it killed some 130 people.
For the people of Europe, I think it's very frightening.
What will this case mean for the American food supply?
One cow found is the tip of an iceberg.
But in terms of human health, the likelihood of this spreading in any significant way is really pretty low.
And for American business.
The export market for U.S. beef will drastically be reduced and will look very bleak.
Tonight, Mad Cow, what we know and what we don't.
From ABC News. This is Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Chris Bury.
So far, it's an isolated case. So isolated, in fact, that agriculture officials in Washington state know of only a single infected cow, an animal they insist that was not even destined for the dinner table, and one from a farm that is now under quarantine. That said, no one in the government, or certainly in the beef industry, can afford to take lightly the first known case of mad cow disease in the United States. There is no evidence whatsoever any Americans here have been infected with the brain disease, but it does cause concern wherever it is found in cattle because the human version, though extremely rare, is debilitating and almost always fatal. Indeed, fear of the disease is so powerful that when a single Canadian cow was infected earlier in the year, more than 30 nations, including the United States, banned beef from north of the border. The irony is today's development comes just as the American beef industry is enjoying its highest prices in years, thanks largely to the popularity of those high-protein diets. But the economic impact could be enormous. Already tonight, Japan and South Korea have announced that they are temporarily banning the import of American beef. Nightline correspondent Dave Marish begins our coverage tonight.
Today, we received word from USDA's National Veterinary Services Laboratories in Ames, Iowa, that a single Holstein cow from Washington State has tested as presumptive positive for BSE, or what is widely known as mad cow disease.
That's all it took, just one case of an American cow from a farm about 40 miles east of Yakima, Washington, infected with bovine spongiform encephalopathy, mad cow disease, and McDonald's stock dropped almost immediately 4%. Does one case mean many? Not necessarily. So far, at least, the one cow found with the disease in Canada this summer looks like an isolated case. But Secretary Veneman says the Agriculture Department is taking no chances.
We have a complete book of protocols that we're following with regard to how we would deal if we ever had an outbreak of BSE. We're following all of those steps, including we've already located the farm, and that farm will be quarantined and the investigation will begin.
What exactly does that mean? For example, at the farm?
Things like only slaughtering young animal because this particular disease-causing protein accumulates in older animals. So if you only slaughter for consumption young animals, then you've eliminated that.
And at the rendering plant, where parts of the sick cow had been taken for processing.
Changes in rendering practices, which would, again, prevent food from being recycled and causing other animals to become infected.
Secretary Veneman and her Undersecretary for Food Safety, Elsa Morano, emphasized that no dangerous parts of the sick cow had gotten into the human food chain.
You should know that the tissues that are the infectious tissues from an animal that has BSE, that is the central nervous system tissues, the brain, spinal cord, and so forth, of this animal did not enter the food supply. Those tissues went to rendering, so they did not enter the food supply. That's very important to know.
The View from Washington tonight: no need to bring back the Christmas goose.
At this time of year, many Americans are making plans for the holidays and for food. We see no need for people to alter those plans or their eating habits or to do anything but have a happy and healthy holiday season. I plan to serve beef for my Christmas dinner.
Alors, pour votre information,
this argument, "Don't be scared of beef, I'm not," will sound familiar to diners in England and France who watched cabinet ministers publicly feast on beef to reassure people. At least 130 people have died of mad cow disease since the British agricultural minister bit. The good news: the Europeans changed radically the way they processed beef for human consumptions.
We need to do exactly what Britain, Germany, and France have done. We have to have a complete ban on feeding any rendered animal byproducts as animal feed, and we have to test virtually every animal before it's consumed by people.
There's lots of steps in place, largely built on the European experience, and I think will be adequate to protect our food supply.
Dr. Klingborg says the USDA has already copied many of the European policies, but copycatting can cut two ways. The U.S. banned Canadian beef imports after just one case in May, and tonight the Japanese and South Koreans have banned American beef because of the Washington state cow. If other countries follow, the lockstep could cost the U.S. beef industry billions.
We could see cash cattle prices drop anywhere between, let's say $10 and $15 a hundredweight if the Japanese were to continue the ban looking forward, probably for the next 6 to 9 months.
In France, after humans there started getting new variant Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, mad cow in humans, people abandoned their supermarkets in favor of small butchers who claimed to know where all their cows had come from. Few Americans have such an option. One sign of the times at the Agriculture Department news conference of a worry even scarier than mad cow disease.
I have been in contact with Secretary Ridge, and I would emphasize that based on the information available, this incident is not terrorist-related, nor is it related in any way to our nation's heightened alert status. I cannot stress this point strongly enough.
Two frightening footnotes. Any human cases of mad cow disease gotten from cows sick with BSE today are likely to take 6 to 10 years to show themselves. And by the time the disease is disclosed in symptoms, it's almost always too late for a cure. I'm Dave Marish for Nightline in New York.
Is this single case of mad cow disease likely to be just the tip of the iceberg? I'll talk with a senior official from the U.S. Department of Agriculture when we come back.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Circuit City.
Hurry into Circuit City today for big savings on all your last-minute gifts. Save on the year's hottest DVDs, CDs, video games, and more. And be sure to pick up a Circuit City gift card, too. Plus, get this 7-inch widescreen portable DVD player for just $199.99. And save $30 on this Sony 3.2 megapixel digital camera. Only $269.99 after rebate. Save on all your last-minute gifts today at Circuit City. We're with you.
The experts at Oral-B are on a mission to protect your teeth and gums with the new Oral-B Professional Care 7000. Its 3D action removes more plaque than Sonicare Elite and even reverses gum disease. Oral-B Professional Care. Brush like a dentist.
Hey, Bob, you get a new haircut?
No.
Hey, Bob. Hey. Did you lose weight?
Nope. What's different? He finally asked his doctor about Viagra. Find out if a free sample is right for you.
Did you just talk to the doctor?
Yep. Ask your doctor and see the difference.
Tomorrow, the discovery of mad cow disease here in the U.S. What could this do to the beef industry? How can you be sure the beef you eat is safe? The latest on World News Tonight.
On the day after Christmas, 12/26, there are tons of hot values just waiting at Wix. No interest, no payments, just 10% down. No interest adds up. It's the best deal around. Your furniture dreams will soon come alive. First payment's not due till June 2005. Yes, Wix pays your interest, not 1 cent a cruise. Like a gift from Wix Furniture just for you. The date that it starts is 12/26, so make your plans now, then hurry to Wix.
Tomorrow on AM Northwest.
Have you been naughty or nice? Santa Claus is coming to town, and he'll make a visit to our studio. Plus, must-see holiday movies with Oregonian film critic Sean Levy.
It's a mystery story, and it involves...
Watch tomorrow at 9.
On an all-new Wayne Brady Show. Music from American Idol, Ruben Studdard.
Find that special thing.
Jared Miller's Winter Animals, and party tips from David Tutera. On the next Wayne Brady Show.
Wayne Brady, tomorrow at 11:30 on K2.
My first guest tonight is Dr. Ron DeHaven, Chief Veterinary Administrator for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Were you as surprised as everybody else about this case in Washington State?
Well, it certainly came as a surprise to us, Chris. On the other hand, we've been planning for years in the eventuality that this might happen. We have a BSE response plan, which in fact is the plan that we're activating as we speak.
And BSE is exactly what?
I'm sorry, that stands for bovine spongiform encephalopathy. It's a neural disease that affects livestock, also referred to as mad cow disease.
And how exactly did this one cow in Washington State get the disease?
Well, the latest theory is that there's only one way that animals can become infected, and that is through consumption of feed that has been contaminated with protein from another animal that has the disease.
So only from other animal parts, including cows or sheep, that kind of thing?
Yes, it'd just be from eating protein from another animal who happened to be infected.
And the parts from this cow that had been infected, what happened to those parts?
Well, this is part of the good news. In this situation, because the cow was non-ambulatory, or what we refer to as a downer at the time of slaughter, all of the infection...
A downer meaning it wasn't walking around?
Was not able to walk around. It was non-ambulatory. Therefore, those tissues from this animal that could have been infectious would have been sent to a renderer. They would not have gone into the human food chain. So virtually no risk to the human population through this particular cow.
So you can guarantee that no part of this particular cow went into any processing plant anywhere?
Well, we haven't completed our investigation. It's certainly standard protocol within our food inspection agency for all of the what we call specified risk materials, those tissues that might harbor the infectious agent, for them to go to a renderer. Only the muscle meat cuts, those tissues that would be safe for human consumption, would go into the human food chain.
I think the question that most viewers are probably wondering about tonight is the potential impact on humans.
Well, again, for the reasons that I've stated, the fact that we have a very indication of a very low prevalence of the disease in the country. In fact, this is the only case that we know about. The fact that the infectious tissues from this particular cow would have gone into a rendered non-human food product, and only the safe tissues, the muscle meat, the meat cuts, would have gone into the human food chain. We feel that the U.S. food supply is as safe today as it was yesterday.
Is there anything to specifically protect against the kind of outbreak that killed a number of people in Britain several years ago?
Some countries that have had the outbreak and had have had significantly more cases of the disease have gone to other additional measures where they don't just take these specified risk materials, these risky tissues, out of downed animals, but in fact take them out of all animals over a certain age at slaughter.
Including the United States?
We're considering that at this point, and in fact...
But you haven't done it yet?
We have not done that yet.
You must be concerned, even if this outbreak is relatively limited, about the enormous potential economic consequence to the American beef industry.
We would certainly hope that the response of the American public is similar to what we saw in Canada, where there is a good system in place in Canada as there is in the U.S. They've had good surveillance, they've had a good program in place, and the consumer confidence in Canada remains high today. We would expect and hope for the same response from the U.S., recognizing that the relative risk and the safety of our product in the U.S. is very good.
But of course, the American industry exports tons of beef, and already tonight Japan has said it is going to at least temporarily ban the import of U.S. beef, and a South Korean official has been quoted as saying his country is highly likely to do the same.
Well, and we do know that the two countries that you mentioned, Korea and Japan, in fact banned all product from Canada as well, based on their single case of BSE in that country. The science would suggest, even from countries with a higher prevalence of the disease, you can safely trade in certain meat products, any skeletal muscle meat cut. So while the Koreans and Japanese may be considering those options, and indeed that's what they did in the case of Canada, the science would suggest that that is a serious overreaction to the actual threat, and a reaction not based on science.
But if it's an overreaction, it's one the United States also had, because when that single case was identified in May, the United States also banned the import of Canadian beef.
Yes, Chris, but as you know, we are currently allowing meat products to enter the United States from Canada. We've proposed a rule that in fact would consider allowing live animals to come into the United States from Canada. So we are in the process of changing that, and in fact, we, as I mentioned, already are allowing certain products of low risk or minimal risk to come into the U.S. from Canada.
Dr. Ron DeHaven, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So is the potential damage to the economy greater than the health risk from a mad cow outbreak? That conversation when we come back.
One of the most acclaimed movies of the year is now the most nominated motion picture of the year, with 8 Golden Globe nominations, including Best Picture of the Year, Cold Mountain, rated R, in theaters Christmas Day.
Hurry into Circuit City today for big savings on all your last-minute gifts. Save on the year's hottest DVDs, CDs, video games, and more. And be sure to pick up a Circuit City gift card, too. Plus, get this 7-inch widescreen portable DVD player for just $199.99. And save $30 on this Sony 3.2 megapixel digital camera, only $269.99 after rebate. Save on all your last-minute gifts today at Circuit City. We're with you.
The Braun Synchro cuts more efficiently because it's the first shaver with a 4-way moving head. And its automatic self-cleaning system leaves your shaver so clean it feels like new every day. Braun Synchro. We challenge you to find a better dry shaver.
Nissan 03. It's been a great story. We brought you the rugged Xterra, stylish Altima, tough Frontier, reliable Sentra, and powerful Pathfinder. Now we're bringing you the Nissan National Year-End Event. Get 0.9% or $2,500 cash back, because every great story deserves a happy ending.
Wireless, where are we?
Comparing high-speed data networks, Sprint's 30% bigger than AT&T Wireless.
But AT&T Wireless, they've been around.
If Sprint has better coverage, isn't it obvious?
Right.
Let's look at Sprint. You are the plant guy. Central plant? No, Ficus plant. Didn't mean to jump in, but
they'll thank you for it.
30% more coverage than with AT&T Wireless. Get the facts at Sprint.com. One Sprint, many solutions.
Jimmy Kimmel welcomes Golden Globe nominee William H. Macy.
I would like to ask you to do Jerry from Fargo.
Oh, for Pete's sake, don't you think I get tired of that?
Jimmy Kimmel Live coming up.
Lucky you. Your local True Value has everything you need to take care of life's little surprises, and you'll get in and out fast. True Value. Help is just around the corner.
Save money on electricity by using Energy Star compact fluorescent lights during these long winter nights. And come in this weekend for a special at Malala True Value. Now that it's getting darker earlier, let us show you ways to light up your life.
I'm joined now by David Ropeek of the Harvard Center for Risk Analysis. The center conducted a study in 2001 into the potential dangers of a mad cow outbreak in the U.S. And Michael Hansen, a senior researcher for the Consumers Union. He is a biologist who's been studying the potential risks to consumers of mad cow disease. And Michael, we just heard a senior Agriculture Department official say that he could not tell us for certain whether parts of that infected cow in Washington State found their way into processing plants or not. Is that a cause for concern?
Yes, it should be a cause for concern. When the Secretary of Agriculture gave her interview this afternoon at 5:30, she mentioned that the muscle meat from this animal went from the slaughtering plant where it had come in, Midway Meats, and had gone at least to two other plants, Willamette and Interstate Meat. Whether the meat then from that animal, which was killed on December 9th, has made it into food stores, we won't know until they do the appropriate trace forward. But the fact that parts of this animal went into the human food chain and that the potentially most infectious parts went to the renderers, which means that could go into the feed chain for animals and pets, is actually quite disturbing.
So what you're saying is, even if the Agriculture Department is right and the risk to humans is fairly limited, there is more risk that parts of this cow wound up in rendering plants or processing plants, which will themselves wind up in other animal feed and possibly infect other animals.
That's correct. Once the rendered material, such as from the brain and spinal cord, when that went to a rendering plant, since you can't completely destroy the infectious agent, what will happen is that rendering plant then becomes contaminated, and you would have to trace all the feed that goes from that plant, since we don't have a foolproof way to completely destroy the infectious agent. So that means it could be spreading by moving into other animal feed. And it should be pointed out, since people think that the way this disease is spread is through the eating of infected feed, one cow doesn't usually just get in infected feed. Where there's, since cows all get fed the same thing, if one cow has eaten that infected feed, there's a good likelihood that other cows have eaten that as well.
David, that means, I assume, there's going to be a great deal of detective work in the next few days. Give us a sense of what's going to be happening.
Well, in 2001, we tried to model this exact scenario, and we posited 1, 10, 50, even 500 sick animals coming into the herd, and based on conditions at that time, we found that the subsequent risk to other animals, and certainly the risk to humans, was exceptionally low. That's because with the feed ban in place in 1997, which makes it illegal to take the infectious parts of these cattle, the brain and the spinal cord, the meat is not infectious, is not thought to be infectious, to take the brain and the spinal cord and render it into other feed that's fed back to further cattle is now illegal. So with that feed ban in place, even with incomplete compliance, which we put into our model, we found that even with 500 sick animals coming in, there's no scenario in which the disease actually spreads and continues to spread. It chokes itself off, and the amount of infectious material that reaches the human food supply is extraordinarily low. Now, not zero, but I think the caution here is that there is concern, but based on our study at least, not really reason for serious alarm.
Michael Hansen, I want you to react to that Harvard study. If, in fact, the risk is very low, do Americans have anything to worry about tonight?
Well, I think the problem with the Harvard study is it all depends on the assumptions you make going into that model. For example, they assumed fairly high levels of compliance when we know that there were gaping loopholes in the feed rule. 3 years after the feed rule went into effect, there were survey showing that 28% of all the feed mills that handled potentially prohibited material did not even bother to label it, and that 17% didn't even know the feed rule existed. So there were actually fairly high levels of non-compliance, and those weren't actively modeled. There's also other pathways that this disease can move through. So again, the problems I have with their models is the assumptions you make in part determine what you get out at the other end. I would just point out that other countries that have found a single case of mad cow disease have taken far more stringent actions than the United States has. And actually, the U.S. has been urged for a number of years to do what they've done in Europe and Japan and elsewhere, and that is to ban the refeeding of animals back to animals.
David, even if the risk is as low as your study would suggest, the fact is that we saw earlier in Dave Marish's report, when Britain had this problem, they discovered that the incubation period in humans was several years. So, in fact, scientists might not know for quite some time.
There remain uncertainties. There are uncertainties about compliance, although we did model in the accepted level of non-compliance with the feed ban